and that candlestick would be lit. And if you look, pay attention close to that picture at the bottom of the bulletin, and you'll see that everything was covered with gold. And when that candlestick burned, that was the only source of light inside that tabernacle. You're talking about an enclosed space about the size of this room, with no windows, no light bulbs. General Electric was not in business. And the only thing in the room was this candlestick, and it burned. And you say, well, that wouldn't have been a whole lot of light, but you reflect that off of gold everywhere. You imagine the brilliance that would have been when you walked in that room. And then to realize you're in the presence of the Spirit of God. That'd be quite an experience that these priests were able to experience. Now, you can draw a menorah, is what it's called. You can draw it real easily. You take one straight line and then just make 3 U's. Make the first one smaller than the next 3, and draw yourself a little menorah. And what's really interesting is to look at the 7 churches. And in the Revelation, the first 3 chapters of Revelation, it's the golden candlestick. That's what he's talking about. And I've met people who have read the book of Revelation through several times and didn't know that in Revelation that the golden candlestick was referring to this. And how many churches, Mike? And how many candlesticks do you count on that?
8.
How many?
8.
No, one too many. 7, that's right. And it's really interesting, that Jesus said that if you didn't repent, or he told a few of them, if you didn't repent, then he would remove your candlestick. 5 out of the 7. And we're going to move on and read a little bit more about the candlestick, and we're going to look at something related to that. But I also want to point out, it's very simple. When you see the word knop, that's the same as our word knob. So when you see knops, it's a knob. And he's describing a bowl, and then a flower, and then a knop. And that's a design that you can see even used today. I think I've seen it on some of the buildings in Washington, D.C. that I've seen on the videos about that. But it was very artistic. This was not a plain setting that it was in. But remember that this was a picture of something in the heavens. When Moses went up on the mount and God gave him the instructions, he wasn't just making this stuff up on the spur of the moment. He was giving Moses a pattern, or what he was giving Moses was based on a pattern of things in the heavens. We're going to refer to that again, but let's read a few more verses there, beginning of verse 34, Mike.
And in the candlestick shall be 4 bowls made like an almonds, with their knops and their flowers. And there shall be a knop under 2 branches of the same, and a knop under 2 branches of the same, and a knop under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches that proceed out of the candlestick. Their knops and their branches shall be of the same. All it shall be one beaten work of pure gold. And thou shalt make the 7 lamps thereof, and they shall light the lamps thereof, and that they may give light over against it.
And you think of this, when we talk about Jesus and we talk about the Spirit, the Trinity teaches that the Spirit of God is the Spirit of Jesus Christ. So though there are 3 persons in the one true Godhead, they're not 3 separate gods. They are one God. You can't separate them out as gods, but you do identify them separately as persons. Now I want you to turn over to Revelation chapter 1, and Revelation chapter 1 makes reference to what this candlestick is picturing. This candlestick is picturing the Spirit of God. And in Revelation 1 verse 4, John, to the 7 churches which are in Asia, grace be unto you and peace from Him which is, and which was, and which is to come, and from the what? 7 spirits which are before His throne. And people have asked, well, what's that mean? There's only one Spirit. Well, just as there are three in one as God, the Spirit is represented by 7, which 7 is the number of completion, the number of wholeness and perfection. So now look over and we'll see, we want to emphasize this, the best commentary on the Bible is the Bible itself. And if you turn over to Isaiah chapter 11, go ahead and turn over there. Isaiah 11, we're going to see the Bible commentary on the Bible.
Amen.
Now, I don't want to get the wrong idea again. I sound kind of radical a lot of times. I do not think there's anything wrong with using a good commentary by a good Bible teacher. I'd be a hypocrite to say so because I've used them. Although there are times where you say, what? Where are you getting that? But you know, the saying is, eat the meat, spit the bone out. He's human. Anytime you're reading a commentary, just like the Bereans, just like when they were, the Apostle Paul's teaching them, and they still tested everything he said with the Word. And you do the same thing, obviously, when you're listening to me. Amen.
Amen.
So, verbally, Mike, that's enough.
All right.
But Isaiah 11, we have the commentary on what this 7 spirits are. And beginning of verse 1, and there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse. Obviously, you know who that's talking about. Jesse was the father of David, and Jesus is the son of David. And a branch shall grow out of his roots. Now, I believe that that's referring to the candlestick. That the candlestick is the branch, and the branch is the candlestick, and that they both represent the same thing. And that the Spirit of God is the Spirit of Jesus Christ. And I think it's laid out right here, because he goes right in and says in verse 2, and the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him. Now here we have 7. Number 1 is the Spirit of the Lord as an overarching title. Number 2, pick up with the Spirit of wisdom. Number 3, understanding. The Spirit of counsel, number 4. And might, number 5. The Spirit of knowledge, number 6. And of the fear of the Lord, number 7. So there you have the Spirit of the Lord defined as 7 spirits from the Lord, and they're defined specifically right here in Isaiah 11, 1 and 2, what those are. Now let's go back to the chapter Exodus 25. And now every time you see a menorah, instead of thinking of Hanukkah, because there's nothing wrong with Hanukkah. I mean, it was a great event. But when you see that candlestick, a Christian especially should think of the 7 candlesticks in the book of Revelation and the 7 spirits that those candlesticks represent, with the Spirit of the Lord right in the middle. You see, the more you study the Word, the more you really are aware. So many people look at these things and they don't see anything. But when you study the Word, then you start to see things. It's like Mike said, it's not new. There's nothing new under the sun, but it's new to you. New to me. Now, beginning in verse 38, let's close out the chapter, these last 3 verses. Mike, go ahead.
And the tongs thereof shall be of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold shall he make it with all these vessels. And look that thou make them after their patterns, which was showed thee in the mount. Now,
first of all, the word snuff dishes is great. I just love that. Kayla's favorite word.
That's my favorite version.
Snuff dishes. Now, what those snuff dishes are, they're little things with look like a little bell, but there's no bell in it. And you've seen them used and they snuff out the candle. That's what those are.